Yo, what is up? Welcome to Ninja Geek Games. A few of my games include characters that wield some powerful magic, but in Trickerion for Mind Clash games, you deal with sleight of hand and illusion. Yes, in this game, you are a developing magician looking for fame and fortune in the small town of Modular. The game is set in the 19th century with some steampunk elements that boasts worker placement in a complex Euro-style game where you need to learn, prep and practice your magic tricks in order to perform them at the Grand Theatre. Traditionally, this is a 2 to 4 player game, but in this video I'm going to cover the solo variant, Dalgard's Heir, and also include the Academy modular expansion. Dalgard's Academy beefs up the base game components, adds more magicians and assistants as well as a sideboard. Here you can renovate the Academy and teach your tricks to students that provide regular income and fame, and finesse your performance to enhance the rewards at the theatre. Not only that, your protege specialist can basically level up learning new skills that help you during play. Now, the solo variant is designed by the magician himself, David Turksey, and as Trickerion is already a complex and heavy game, you'll be right in thinking this is going to involve a lot of upkeep and decision making, but it will be very rewarding. In this video, I'll go over the basis of action selection, how to manage the solo player or heir, what I think of this variant and the inclusion of the Academy module. Firstly, you're going to have 3 rulebooks and 2 player aid booklets to thumb through. Time consuming for your first few games, but the player aids are well thought out given explanations of the iconography of all the game components, and there's a lot. Also, you're going to need quite a big table. As we'll see, the player area may grow during the game and the Academy expansion board also takes up room. And with that, let the show begin. Ta-da! For those unfamiliar with the game, this is your player area where you house your tricks and components, and with the Academy expansion you start the game with a protege as well as a specialist. Now, I'm not going to discuss every aspect of the base game in detail as we'll be here for a long time, but the protege has a worker and 3 spaces where they can learn skills from the Academy. You also start with a bit more money. Cha-ching! Have access to an Academy assignment card and have some banners to mark areas that you've renovated during an Academy action, and these help you score extra fame at the end of the game. The heir has their own board that starts with similar components to you, to include areas for tricks, workers and assignment cards. This is a shopping list of components that match owned tricks, and these will later swap out with those in the market. You'll also need to construct a small deck of planning cards that dictates how assignment cards are assigned to the heir's workers, and there's an area to store gained money in Trickerion shards. Your turn for assignment doesn't change too much, except that you need to place your assignment cards before the heir does. The only difference here is that you can now choose to go to the Academy area and assign cards to your new protege. For the heir, you reveal a plan card that will show how the assignment cards are arranged and may even include special cards from the Dark Alley. Depending on the card drawn, it'll either sit at the top or bottom of this area, and this details the order of the heir's actions later. For the heir, you'll need to determine whether they're busy or ready after each action they take based on the planning card drawn and which tricks they own, and this will move the position of the card on their board. On their turn, they'll select a worker based on the location shown in this area, but will also prioritise workers if both you and the heir have workers wanting to go to the same location. This does mean you have to constantly manage their state, both sets of assignment cards, and this order track that can be quite tricky. For solo play, each round you'll need to block certain action spaces at each location, and this is carried out by rolling special setup dice, and they show which spots to cover. From round 2, you're only allowed to re-roll 2 dice, and these are then marked so you can't re-roll them on consecutive turns. I quite like this mechanic as action spaces will vary each round, so it becomes harder to predict which action point bonuses will be available, but others you can control. Also, at the start of a round, the heir always gets to promote their show with posters and claim fame, where you still have to pay to do this if you want it. When you select your action, it's the same as in the base game, but each area will only have 2 spots available. For those of you who are not familiar with the game, Trickerion has a cool worker placement mechanic where each worker disc shows the number of action points available to them. Each action slot will then modify this value, where you can further increase this value with claimed Trickerion shards and special assignment cards taken from the Dark Alley. These action points can then be spent where the action on the board has a varied cost. When the heir's workers move to a location, they always select the highest action bonus and then take a number of actions based on their power. Depending on difficulty of the base game you're playing, the heir will then be allocated a number of actions at that space, and they have a priority list. What I'm going to do now is briefly explain how the heir carries out their actions in priority order compared to what you do at each area. This way, those that know the game can see what the solo play entails, but those new to the game can grasp how the player actions are taken. Downtown lets you hire new workers, gain tricks and get money from the bank, and when you select an action you change the matching die to X to show it's been used. To learn a trick you select a trick card from one of the 4 decks matching the die symbols or from the deck matching your magician's preferred school of magic. Within each deck there are 3 levels of trick, but you have to meet the fame threshold value, which will be your current fame or victory points. Extra specialists or apprentices can be hired that are added to your player area, either as a single worker disc or for specialists an extra board with special abilities. At the bank you just take the money shown on one of the die, cha-ching, but with all of these you can spend action points to change the face of a die before selection. The heir will always try to claim trick cards at its fame threshold, but this is done randomly, and the tricks are always placed on the heir's board as prepared, where your magician needs to work for this. Specialists will be hired before apprentices, and this results in the heir being able to take more actions going forward, but they get no specialist board, just the worker disc. Finally, if they have any actions left, they take money that will earn them fame at the end of the round. At the market you can buy components to fulfill the needs of your claimed tricks. What I like here is that you can spend action points to reduce the overall cost and buy multiple items. But if the item you want isn't available, you can order it in so it appears in the next round, or use Amazon Prime for immediate delivery, but this has a hefty cost. For the heir, they have a shopping list on their board based on the tricks they own. If these components are present in the market, they're removed with any remaining shopping list items placed on order for the next round, which is a good way to keep the market components rolling. The Dark Alley is an optional module for the base game, but I always recommend using it. Here you use action points to buy special assignment cards. These are one-time use, and as well as providing means of workers visiting board spaces, they will have a special ability to be used or can pump up the action power value. With the Academy expansion you also get a little sticker and a deck of cards to represent the new areas of the board. You can also rotate the prophecy tokens to suit your needs. Each round one of these will be active that will allow all players to break the rules of the game, and with the Academy expansion you get these new blue tokens that are mixed into the pool. The heir doesn't bother with the prophecy area, they just claim special assignment cards but won't get the cheeky bonus they provide, only the extra power. On your player board you can send workers to your workshop and prepare tricks. Each trick is associated with a unique symbol marker that helps you track which tricks to score in the theatre or the academy. To prepare a trick you place the matching trick markers on the card, but only if you've bought all the components from the market as shown on the trick card. These markers will later be placed in the theatre where you'll score fame during the performance. If the heir sends a worker to their workshop, nothing happens, it's just a bit of respite for your magician. At the theatre, this is quite literally where the magic happens, and at first it can seem quite a complex action. Each action space is split into 4 days, Thursday to Sunday, and when sending workers you can only select one day. This is important as depending on the day you choose you may have positive or negative modifiers to your action point value. These action spaces allow you to move trick markers from the cards in your workshop to the performance cards in the theatre. These cards will be added and removed as play continues, and the overall value of them becoming more complex and rewarding over time. When you place trick markers, you need to ensure that some of the token symbols sit in a particular orientation, and this is based on the trick card symbol that the marker was taken from. Also, if you can form links of matching symbols, you gain fame, money, and possibly Trickerion shards. But as you can place multiple tokens from different cards, you may have some analysis paralysis at this stage trying to figure out this little puzzle, but it's a very rewarding part of the game. The heir also does similar, but will have a preference for the performance cards in the theatre and the trick that markers are taken from. Again, you have to assess where the heir would gain the most links, so this can take time trying to set this up fairly. If you're lucky, you may be able to perform these tricks with magicians, and this is where a lot of money and fame is made. But this part of the game is actually an end of round phase if you have a magician at the right spot. Here a performance card is selected and the owner of the magician gets a load of money and fame based on the links made from trick markers, the values on the performance card, and if they have any workers helping out. But what I like is that any player with trick markers on the selected performance card also gets the rewards based on the trick cards that their markers came from. This means you can gain some passive bonuses, which is always welcome. However, depending on the day where your magician is, you could end up with some positive or negative modifiers on these rewards. This can become a little overwhelming to record, especially during your first few plays. The Academy is a new sideboard from the expansion that has areas for secret tiles and classroom and practice room tiles. At the start of the game, some of the rooms are blocked off but will become available over time. Action points can be spent to claim secret tiles that become a permanent addition to the protege. The more you gain, the more abilities they get to use for certain actions, plus you also switch out worker discs, increasing their action power, which is great, although then they require a higher salary at the end of the round. You can choose to renovate classroom and practice room areas where you pay a cost based on your current fame level and then get more fame. You then get to add a tile to that area for later use. To mark your deft DIY skills, you place banner tokens near the tile that will score you endgame fame. Action points can then be spent to teach or practice your tricks. To do this, you mark a slot with your new academy marker matching your trick and gain permanent bonuses to that trick. Practice rooms provide bonus rewards to fame or money when that particular trick is performed at the theatre, allows extra trick markers to be added to it, or reduce the number of components needed to prep it. Classrooms, on the other hand, allow you to claim an end of round yield matching the trick, which can be quite high. However, you can never perform that trick in the theatre, so you do have a difficult decision to make here. The heir's actions are very similar, except that the protege needs fewer secrets to level up. With regards to the classroom and practice rooms, the difficulty is you have a lot of upkeep regarding bonuses to perform tricks and end of round bonus yields to manage for both yourself and the heir, so be warned. Hopefully you've been able to understand the basic actions for you, the magician, and how competitive the heir is. It's a lot of upkeep, noting when to change their stance, the order of actions that they take based on contested locations, and managing their fame and money gains from performances and the academy. It's an art in itself. It's a tricky game, pun intended, even at multiplayer, when you only have to look after yourself, and now you have to carry the heir through too. The heir also gets end of round fame for every 10 coins it has, and these can rack up quickly. Also, it's incredibly tough, even at the easiest setting. You start to think you're doing okay, get complacent, perhaps sit back and put your feet up. Oh, my sweet summer child. Within no time, your jaw will drop as the spectacular turn from the heir sees them rocket past you on the fame track. But it's such a good game, I don't care. I love the puzzle element of setting up tricks, the little engine building introduced from the Academy module, and the rewarding experience from performing your own tricks, or have the heir do it for you. Changing the block spots on the action spaces with dice each round is a nice touch to keep you on your toes, and I like this. I feel the complexity of learning the game and solo management may put a few people off, but this is a wonderful worker placement where lose or lose, I still thoroughly enjoy every play. The Academy is a great expansion with a whole new level to a game that already has a lot of depth. Levelling up your protege as a cost is well thought out, and adding a new way to score in-game fame is certainly not an overproduced mechanic. It just gives you a few more options on top of the ton of extra base game components you get. Overall, a fantastically satisfying solo worker placement, complex enough to result in headache, but varied enough to want another game. Be warned, there is some analysis paralysis when setting up tricks and assessing where your fame and money are coming from, but the result of reward over blank vacant stares negates this. If you enjoy heavy games and like a puzzle element, then I would certainly recommend Trickerion and the Academy expansion as a must, even at multiplayer. I hope you enjoyed the video and now have a better understanding of the basic actions and solo management. Thanks for watching. This is Ninja Geek Games. Cheers.